What's up? I am Runs with Alpacas, and I have a deck profile. This one is for my version of the Gren Maju OTK. It's pretty non-standard. I put a lot of spice into this deck. A lot of just not normal choices for regular Gren Maju builds. Not that Gren Maju is a normal deck to play. So I'll get right into it. To start off, I play 3 copies of Gren Maju Da Eiza. It's the best monster in the deck. It's the only reason you play the deck. For each of your banished cards, Gren Maju Da Eiza gains 400 attack. The lowest this card will ever be is about 4,000, but more than likely it's going to be 8,000, 10,000, even upwards of 20,000 or more. Gren Maju is it's a powerhouse of a card with all the cards that you can play that just banish stuff for free. So Gren Maju Da Eiza is your win condition. I play 2 copies of Necroface, completely standard for Gren Maju Da Eiza builds. When this card is banished, you banish the top 5 cards of your deck, and your opponent does the same. If you normal summon this card, you shuffle all banished cards back into the deck. You rarely need to do that, but sometimes you need to correct your banished cards if Pot of Desires is not kind to you. Necroface can, give you that. It's like a restart button. So anyway, I play 2 copies of Necroface because you can only play 2 because it's semi-limited. Next, I play 3 copies of Eater of Millions. Again, just totally standard for Gren Maju. Next, I play 3 copies of Battle Fader. Again, totally standard for Gren Maju OTK builds. You have no defense except for this card, basically. Some people play Swift Scarecrow. I don't opt to play that, and that's because I have a really non-standard build. But I still do play the 3 copies of Battle Fader. It's really important. You will lose if you don't have this card, because you're not always going to be able to attack for game with Gren Maju immediately. So 3 copies of Battle Fader. This is where my build fails to be a standard Gren Maju build. I opt to play 3 copies of Banisher of the Radiance. This is a card you mainly only see in stun decks, and for very good reason. It's a very good card in stun decks. Any card that is sent to the graveyard is banished instead, and it's a 1600 attack body, so that's nothing too easy to get over in today's meta. Sky Strikers can't really get over this because they need spell cards in the graveyard to make their attacks higher or make your attacks lower, so they will not be able to get over this. I also like that it's a level 3. And Gren Maju is also a level 3, so that enables me to go into some rank 3 plays, mainly Leviair, because Leviair will be able to get a banished Gren Maju if it is face up. So I play 3 copies of Banisher of the Radiance. I think it's a pretty neat card to combine with Gren Maju. Next, I play 3 copies of Marauding Captain. Definitely not standard for Gren Maju builds. Doesn't really help advance the gameplay mechanic of Gren Maju, of banishing cards to make its attack bigger, but it lets you go into rank 3s a lot easier, which I think is kind of important, at least for the way I want to play the deck. So I play 3 copies of Marauding Captain. Neat little effect. If 2 Marauding Captains are on the field and nothing else, then your opponent cannot attack you because they have to target either of the Marauding Captains, and both of them prevent you from attacking the other, so your opponent just can't attack you. So with the lack of me playing Swift Scarecrow, this kind of fills its void, just in a really indirect way, not a very efficient way, but it is possible. And the last monster I play is 1 copy of Spell Striker. It can attack your opponent directly, so if you're going into time, Spell Striker, attack directly for game. It can be neat. But yeah, it's mainly in here because it's level 3, and you can special summon it by banishing a spell card from your graveyard, just to help with rank 3s a little bit easier. It's a neat little card. Wanted to try it out. For spell cards, I play 3 copies of Pot of Desires. Obviously, it's like this and Gren Maju is your win condition of the deck, especially if you can last long enough to play 2 of these. Draw 2, nothing much else to be said. It's, Pot of Greed, basically. I play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Quite frankly, there's not too many dark targets to banish, but I do play 3 because I play the 3 Desires. So, why not? And I play 1 copy of Upstart Goblin and 1 copy of 1 Day of Peace. Upstart Goblin, the 1000 attack you're giving your opponent usually will not matter. 1 Day of Peace might as well be Pot of Greed for this deck. Neither player can take damage until the end of the next turn after this is played. So that extra card you're giving your opponent probably won't matter too much. You need a lot of draw support. I play 1 copy of Reinforcement of the Army just to search any of those 4 warriors I'm playing. A little deck thinning, I guess. Next, I play 2 copies of Gold Sarcophagus just to banish the 2 copies of Necroface that I have in the deck. It's really its only purpose. You can search other stuff with it, but quite frankly, for how slow this deck is, Necroface is the only viable search that's going to help you. I play 2 copies of Soul Absorption. This doesn't necessarily need to be main decked, but it's, with Pot of Desires, you're giving yourself 5,000 attack, and your life points actually matter a lot in this deck, because a lot of the time you're going to just have an open field. So Soul Absorption is really important, just, for facilitating some more life into the game. I play 1 copy of Dimensional Fissure. This is actually not a standard card in Gren Maju. You think it would be. I guess it just, in regular builds, it's not turbo enough to play it. But 1 copy of Dimensional Fissure, I think it's a good card. I only play 1 copy of DDR. Obviously, any of my other choices that you don't think are good, you can bump DDR up to 2 or 3. It can be really important if you banish Gren Maju off of Necroface. You can get it back with DDR. A lot of times that might have to happen. I find myself banishing Gren Maju a lot with Pot of Desires, though, so it usually doesn't matter. I play 1 copy of Inferno Tempest. I've seen people with Gren Maju play Inferno Tempest. It's a really nutty card. This is kind of the reason I love banishing cards, because it says no, your opponent cannot do anything else for the rest of the duel, but you can, because the 1 monster you summon is just going to be massive. So 1 copy Inferno Tempest, not worth playing more. Next, I play 3 copies of Mass Change 2. Absolutely not a regular card you see in Gren Maju decks. I play it because I like Dark Law as a card. I think it kind of plays into the strategy of Gren Maju, the same reasoning behind why I play Banisher of the Radiance. But I don't always have to go into Dark Law. I play Earths, Lights, Darks, and even Fire, so I have access to any of those Masked Hero cards with Mass Change 2. So I play 3 copies of it, because, you have Pot of Desires, you might banish it. It's a card I do want to see, so I play 3 copies of Mass Change 2. And for trap cards, I play 2 copies of DD Dynamite and 1 copy of Macrocosmos. People will usually play 1 or 2 copies of DD Dynamite. Again, no one really plays Macrocosmos. I will admit, it's probably not the best card choice. You mainly want to go second with this deck, so playing trap cards other than these 2 is really not optimal, but I do play it because I have options to play other than just Gren Maju. I can do Masked Hero stuff, so these are the trap cards I opt for. For the extra deck, I play 1 copy of Underclock Taker. Absolutely, you have to play this card, because this and Gren Maju, it should just be game, if your Gren Maju is big enough. So 1 copy of Underclock Taker, the most practical and most useful card in the extra deck. I play some rank 3s just because it's possible. Play 1 Zen Mains, 1 Triage Levia, 1 Leviair, probably the most useful one out of all of them. 1 Arrow Shark, probably the second most useful one out of all of them, because it's essentially a good card for going into time to do some burn damage. 1 Leviathan Dragon and 1 Granosaurus, 1 Acid Golem. Again, most Gren Maju builds, the extra deck doesn't matter, so a lot of these I'm just going to banish off Eater of Millions, but I do at least play cards that I can make. I think that's important to have options. Then, because I play Mask Change 2, I can play some Masked Heroes, so I play 3 copies of Dark Law. You don't need 3 copies. You're gonna, mostly banish some of these with Eater of Millions, but it's such a good card. It's another one of those cards that your opponent has to deal with it before they do anything else, because it affects their game state so much. So 3 copies of Dark Law. I play 1 Master Hero Koga, 1 Master Hero Enki, and 1 Master Hero Diane. Banisher of the Radiance allows you to go into this. Any of the dark monsters, if you don't go into Dark Law, you can go into Enki, and it can attack directly, so that's why it's in here. And 1 copy of Master Hero Diane, because you do have Earths. You can summon it in defense, and it's got that 3000 defense. That's, really important to wall up in this deck. So that's it for the masked heroes. And the last card I play is 1 Sandwich. Like I said, most of the extra deck doesn't matter in these builds. And I did say that I want most of my extra deck to matter, but also I want Sandwich in here because it's Sandwich. Just look at that thing. So that is the entire deck profile for my version of Gren Maju OTK. I think it's a really cool build, and although it's really non-standard, it works for me, at least a lot of the time, for the people I play with. Maybe not super reliable if you're going to a big tournament, but it's really fun to play with, just having more options than attack with a big, like 8,000 or more attack Gren Maju. It's cool to be able to do other stuff in the deck. But, I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to leave me suggestions of how I can improve it. Yeah, see you later.